Welcome to the 7 Cents Podcast, where we go beyond dollars and cents to unlock the mindset beyond the money.
What's up, everybody? It's your boy Mike Macklin, aka Money Mike, the financial Thanos, because I'm snapping my fingers and I'm turning your financial problems to dust.
And I'm Coach R.L, your money mindset coach. Mind right, money right, legacy locked in.
Guys, this is not your average financial podcast. We're breaking down money myths, mindset traps, and economic game plans.
We keep it real, raw, and relevant, from micro money moves to macro financial shifts.
This is a 7 Cents podcast where your mind meets your money. All right, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the 7 Cents. Hey, today we got a good one for you guys today. Today it asked a question. So let me paint a picture for you real quick. I want you to think back when you was in school and you looked at the smart kids, the people that made all the A's, made all the good grades. They just seemed to be on cloud nine. They just hitting on all cylinders. And then you looked at the people that struggled a little bit, maybe the C students who maybe wasn't quite catching on, or maybe they was just distracted, or maybe they just wasn't showing up. And we look at this from a life standpoint, how their lives or their trajectory kind of went from that point. And it makes a weird turn, because that A student, a lot of the teachers, a lot of the other students, they have these superlatives: most likely to succeed, most likely to do this. And a lot of times these A students, they get those superlatives: most likely to succeed, whatnot. And the C students, they're just there doing what they do. But then life takes a turn. That C student that nobody paid attention to, that nobody thought would do anything other than work at the gas station or McDonald's or wherever, that C student surprises everybody. That C student becomes me or Rob. They become the people that ended up hiring the A students. And I'm sure the A students are like, how the hell did this happen to me? Like, how did I end up working for Rob or Mike when I was running circles around them in school? And so that's what we want to talk about today. And to help me set the stage for this, I want to talk to you guys a little bit about the Dweck and Mueller experiment. This kind of explains a phenomenon that may shed a little bit more light into this. So forgive my eyes for a minute, because I got to read this. I can't look you guys in the face and go over these notes. So give me a sec here. Let's break this down real quick. Researchers Carol Dweck and Claudia Mueller, they ran a very famous study with students. Now, one group of the kids was praised for their effort or their hard work. Now, another group of kids was praised for their intelligence. Does this sound familiar? The A student was praised for their intelligence. The C student might have, well, you gave it a good try, whatever. All right, so let's keep it going. Now, here's what happened in this experiment. The people that got praised for their efforts, they developed what's called a growth mindset. They embraced challenges, they took risk, they got better. Now, the ones that got praised for their intelligence, they developed what's called a fixed mindset. They started avoiding anything that might make them look less smart. Now, does this sound familiar? The A students basically got conditioned to project their image of being smart and afraid to fail. The C students already used to failing, so they weren't scared to try again. So let's unpackage that a little bit, because that was really explains a lot. And I'm sure a lot of us fell in that realm. I'm not gonna lie, I'm a mixture of both. I started out in school, I did really well. Like, I got good grades, and I was in that mindset, to be honest with you. Like, a lot of people told me, oh, you're smart, you're doing well, whatever. And it really set in for me. And it took me a while to get out of that mindset, like a real long while. But once I did, a huge change and a shift in mindset happened to me. And it's one of the things that led up to where we are now. Rob, talk to me a little bit about your side of that. Like, how do you feel about this, or how do you feel that impacted your life or your story?
Yeah, it's crazy, because this is some of the things that I'm like, I'm going through this in therapy today, but I'm still trying to figure out, hey, how were you? I was not a C student. I was a D- student. And it wasn't because I wasn't smart. It was because I didn't fucking feel like doing it. And but at the same time, I was an athlete, so I understood what hard work was. Also was work well with my hands. And then when I got a little bit more into life and started learning that I do have a intellectual prowess about myself, then I started to put those things together. And so when I actually did go to college, which was probably 8 years later than everybody else, I never missed the president's list. I graduated 4.0 summa cum laude. But I say all of that to say that came from the hard work part, not the praised intelligence part. And so I absolutely agree. I also teach my kids in the same manner. I don't try to, excuse me, I don't try to praise them for being smart. I praise them for how hard they did, the work that they did to get to that point. Because at the end of the day, that's really what it comes down to. Like, how did you get to that point? And I read another book, and I think I'll say that for a little bit later. But
Okay.
when you get to a point when you're working and you start to use your intelligence more than you use your ability to critical think, that's when you fall into the, hey, I'm smart. Just because you remember something don't make you smart. You know what I mean? Just because A, B, and C doesn't make you smart. The ability of agility is what makes you smart. The ability of
I
agility,
like
right?
that.
So if you can be
I'll tell them one more
flexible.
time, man. I like
Yeah,
that.
the ability of agility was makes you smart. If you could be flexible in your thinking, again, I see this and work all the time as somebody will run into a problem and they can't figure it out the way that they know how to do it. And sometimes I just walk up and be like, did you ever consider doing this very unconventional thing? And that's what it comes down to. Most C students, I can say most C students, because let's be honest. Let's take a step back and unpack this. We're not saying all C students. We're not saying, hey, don't go out
Right.
there and don't
Right.
try. That's not
Don't go
what
out
we're
there and just
saying.
get C's and think you're just going to be the greatest person ever.
Exactly. Because there are some A students in Harvard who invented AI and they are bosses. That's not what
Right.
we're saying. What we're saying is the conventional schooling has built conventional thinking, and those who haven't succeeded in conventional thinking are usually unconventional thinkers, which lead to C students. And those C students have the ability of agility. They have resilience. I think resilience is one of those bigger things that you talked about. And they have just an ability to fall. Well, that's resilience, but ability to fall and get back up and be like, all right, let's shake this off and see how we gonna do it. Because at the end of the day, it's gonna work. C's get degrees.
No, this real facts. This real facts.
Yeah.
Real quick, I wanna give a couple real life examples just to inspire some folks, because there's some folks that's watching right now that maybe they're in school or whatever, or college students or something like that, and that they really could stand to benefit from hearing something like this. Some of the most successful people, I mean, like people that really did well, had that situation. I'm gonna give you a couple examples. For example, Steve Jobs, he dropped out of college. Excuse me. Richard Branson also dropped out. Mark Zuckerberg also dropped out. So what I'm saying is it's never really been about grades. I don't want you to go to school with the mindset of just grades. I want you to go into not just school, but in life. It's not about the score that you get. It's about, again, the ability to work, to do the work, to go through the process and be okay with the failure. So that's a kind of a point I wanted to drive home. But I want to take another look at this. I want to look at this through a different lens. This is a show all about money. I want to make this. I want to talk to your pocketbooks a little bit. All right, let's go back to these A students. A lot of times the A students, again, most likely to succeed, all the superlatives, they get out there and they normally get a pretty decent job because the system likes that. They like to look at your piece of paper that says you got A's and stuff. But let's talk about why that happens. And I'm gonna use myself as an example. Why I think that works out that way. Because if I saw somebody that got A's, and in my mind, especially after reading this experiment, in my mind, I know how they think. They're going to follow what you want them to do because they're used to being smart. They're used to doing it a certain way. And that's what you want from an employee. You want somebody that's going to come in there and do what you need them to do. I don't need you coming here trying to shake up my system too much. I need you to come here. I'm asking you to do a job. I need you to do the job. And most A students can do that because, again, that mindset is a very linear, fixed mindset. That C student gonna give you a hard time. I'm telling you. That C student is gonna give you a hard way to go because the C student, the first thing that the C student is gonna do is they're gonna question a lot of the processes. They're gonna question, is there a way we could do this faster? And that's a good thing. And that's why a lot of times those C students end up leaving that job and they end up saying, okay, you know what? I'm gonna do this myself because I feel like there's a better way. I feel like there's something else that I could do. And so financially speaking, that fixed mindset that those A students get, it sometimes traps you because now you're not able to think outside the box. Okay, let's say for instance, hard times come on you. You're in debt a little bit. You got married, your wife left you, you still got this mortgage. You really couldn't afford the mortgage. You was banking on her being there, couldn't afford it, and now she's gone. That A student, a lot of times, they have a hard time handling that. Again, not all of them, but those with that fixed mindset, that's a tough pill for them. Now they run into debt problems, or even they don't manage their money very well because they're just used to being so successful that they're not thinking outside the box with that money. They're following the plan that was put in front of them. Hey, you went to college, you got this student debt, you got a good job, but you didn't learn the outside the box skill sets that you're gonna need. And so that's what I want to talk about a little bit. And I'm gonna have Rob. Rob is a great unpackager. So I like to throw stuff at Rob when I'm like, okay, I'm gonna put it out there, but I want Rob to dig in the weeds and really unpackage it. That's what I've noticed just doing the show and talking to Rob. Rob is a huge unpackager. He'll get down into the nuts and bolts of it. So Rob, from a financial standpoint, how do we make that connection?
Hey, I think it's funny that you say that because the reason is, again, everything is so interconnected is why I try not to dig too deep because I can go on a tangent, but I need to make sure we all get the point, right? But the number one, we talk about the unconventional thinking of the C student. That means that C student financially and let's say that just we can call it financially, it's more economically. They're willing to take a bigger risk economically. Whereas someone with conventional thinking probably believes that there's 1 to 3 different ways to do it, but those are the only ways. And so when they fall into hard times, and I think this is I want to feel like I'm double backing on everything that you're saying, but when they fall into hard times, just like you talked about, hey, lost my job, lost my house, lost my wife. When they fall into hard times, conventional thinkers are more likely to have a hard time because they've done everything right only to get there. And so it's hard when you've already been validated for these things to go back and do them because now you have a fear. Now you have this big ass fear that regardless of what I do right, is going to go wrong. You don't fail often, so you don't know how to fail, and you're back into a wall. Even in those aspects, we talk about conventional thinkers. Now you have to be unconventional with your money because now you're playing catch up, but you have this fear and this set of information that you're working with, and you got to work your way out of it. It's tough, buddy. It's tough. Actually, this doesn't always work out for unconventional thinkers because let me play devil's advocate with the unconventional. I'm saying, hey, just because you're a C student, you're going to be awesome.
Right.
These risk takers are gamblers. These risk takers are addicts, right? Because they're addicted to that risk. They're addicted to that unconventional thinking. And I could imagine, like me, most unconventional thinkers don't hold jobs for very long. They go from job to job to job. I think I've been successful in the Army only because they make you go job to job to job. Because if I was doing the same thing for the last 16 years, I'd probably be insane. They probably had to kick me out. But that being able to get a new challenge, face the new challenge, knock it out, move on to the next thing, that is the life of an unconventional thinker. And that's what we call that C student. It can affect both of them definitely financially. And what I think the biggest impact is the risk that you take because conventional thinker, I'm going to get a job. I'm going to put 5 to 10% in my 401k. And then I'm going to lean on my social security. And then I'm going to save 5% and I'm going to put it in savings. And then I'm going to put it in the S&P 500 or an index ETF and it's going to grow and it's fine. These things there's nothing wrong with that. It's not
Not at all.
absolutely nothing wrong with the conventional way of doing things. That motherfucker C student. All right. Let me see what this crypto do. I'm about to day trade this week. Let's go. And if you got somebody who can embody both of those things, you make a bad MFer, bro. You're going to make a bad MFer because not only do they have a set way of doing things, i.e., hey, I'm really good at technical analysis. I'm really good at charting because I learned this and this is the way that you do it and based off of the 20-year average and that is really good. What's also good? Somebody who understands that shit happens. That's the unconventional thinking, because you're like, hey, I know this oh man, it makes me go back to my first day of day trading. And it wasn't my first day, but it was just, again, I'm watching this stock and it's doing good. And then all of a sudden news happened and I wasn't watching the news. And I'm like, why is this stock not doing what I said it was supposed to do? That's conventional thinking.
There you go.
Conventional thinking. And then I looked at the news and I was like, oh, plane out of the sky. That makes sense. That makes sense.
That would be a
Now
problem.
it makes sense. Yeah, I wouldn't put that on anybody, but I definitely say, as you're raising your kids, and that's one of the things that I do with my kids. If you're raising your kids, don't praise them so much for how smart they are. Now, sometimes you might need that little boost, you know what I'm saying? But don't praise them for how smart they are. What I don't want to do is tell my kids that working hard is the way to go, because there's a difference in working hard and hard work.
Yes.
And so you give them that distinction between working hard and hard work, because you ask them questions. How did you get to that, buddy? That was a great way of thinking about that. Instead of saying, you're so smart, I would have never thought of that. Damn, you would have thought of that. And in building that level of confidence, when something happened or somebody outside of this conversation calls them dumb or inadequate, they're definitely going to feel that. It's the conversations that we had before. If you make it sunshine all the time, they don't know when to pull an umbrella out. So there has to be that balance of, and then again, showing kids how to work hard. And we're working on 2+2 the other day, and kids realize the shocker, like 2+2 is 4, right? And then I said, what's 1+3? And they were like, I don't really know. But 0+4, all I know is 2+2 is 4.
There you
And then
go.
they start to realize 1+3 is 4, and 0+4 is, 4. And they start realizing that there's a bunch of other ways to get to 4. So when you start to build the agile thinking, they start to look at all problems to say, hey, there's no infinite way to solve this, even in math. When they start to do that, then they become more agile thinkers. That's how I talk to my kids anyway.
I like that. And that kind of brings me to, I guess, the hard truth about everything that we're talking about here. When you go to school, unfortunately, there's just a lot of things that you're not taught. And it's on purpose. We talked about this before. You're not being groomed to be the next Mark Zuckerberg or the next whoever. You're being groomed to work for somebody. That's, I don't care who says it, but the public school system, I'll make that distinction. The public school system is designed to basically prepare you to be an employee. That's why the curriculum is designed the way it is. That's why it is what it is. You're not being taught things like emotional intelligence, how to read people, how to understand bigger picture things. You're not taught financial literacy. You definitely not taught that, especially in public school. Now, you get in private school, stuff like that, a lot of times is different, because again, now they're already making a profit from it. Public school, they're not making nothing from that. So they don't stand to really get anything from it. But I say all that to say,
Let me
go ahead.
I gotta unpack that. I'm sorry. Let me unpack that, because public schools do get something out of it. So what happens is the government funds public schools. Then these schools then teach all of the people in the community how to better serve the community. These people go out and become tax-paying citizens who
Okay.
pay the government, and then they work on the economic growth of the economy, which is the government. And as long as you're in the machine, that is the growth that actually happens. So they do benefit more from you being a W-2 employee than they do for you being a 1099 contractor or business owner, because if you read the IRS code, those are the guys who get all of the tax breaks. But if you just don't get no tax break and pay taxes, that's money in our pocket, and that's what they want.
Okay. No, I get what you're saying there. Absolutely. That is you took it macro on us a little bit, and I feel you.
I'm sorry, I didn't want to let that one slide.
No, I get you. We don't want to miss the bigger point. So yeah, no, that's what we do. That's what we do. But something else I want everybody to think about essentially is and Rob actually said this. I have to piggyback a little bit off of what he said. When you're going into life, and Rob mentioned talking to your children this way, but you also need to talk to yourself that same way. Stop looking for external validation. Stop looking for somebody to tell you that you're smart. Stop looking for somebody to tell you that you're attractive. Start looking for, and it may not even be other people. Start saying this to yourself. I can work through this. I can find a way to make this happen. I'll keep trying until this thing works out for me, because that's what's going to develop the mental elasticity that you're going to need to get out there. It's fine to make A's. It's absolutely fine to make A's. It's fine to be successful. There's nothing wrong with any of those things. But what we're saying is you don't want to attribute external validation to that level of success. You want to attribute your ability to keep going at it, to keep looking at it in different ways. Because I'm gonna put this on me. I feel like I'm a good mixture of both. And it came through life experience, to be honest with you. Because at the beginning, I got A's. I did really well in school. And then I came into the military and I fell into a system of they want you to do things a certain way. There's at the beginning, there's not a ton of room to say, okay, think outside the box until you reach those mid-level ranks of like E5 and things like that. Then they want you to start thinking a little bit. But at the beginning, it's no. We want you to just do what we tell you, be where we tell you at this time. Don't come in here asking me why and whoop, whoop. That doesn't come till later. So just the internal dialogue you have with yourself, just the how you handle those processes. That was who I was. I had to grow into that. And a lot of what Rob mentioned, the fear of failure, the risk averseness, I went through a lot of that stuff. Because again, what I kept telling myself is I have to continue to look smart to these people. I have to maintain that image that was imprinted in this me. You're a smart guy. You could make A's. And that's when I really made a paradigm shift, is once I started learning to fail. And I had to fail at some things. Like I missed some promotions that I felt like I should have got. Some times happened to me in my life. I had some setbacks, and those to me were the valuable parts. Those are my most, and it's going to sound weird, but those are my most fond memories of my life growing up, is those really tough times and how I was able to navigate through those. And so I think that's the overarching message that both Rob and I want to put out in front of you guys, is especially financially speaking, you have to shy away from the conventional wisdom. There's a place for it, but you have to allow yourself to go beyond that if you're going to be successful. Because Rob said, overall, they want you in that bubble. They want you in that little sweet spot of, yeah, they're making a little bit of money, but they're paying a bunch of taxes. They're not necessarily doing what they need to do to elevate themselves to a really high place. They're doing just enough to where they keep showing up for us. You don't want your life to be like that. That's not what God put you here for. God did not put you here just to pay your bills and eat chocolate and watch TV. He didn't put you there to do that. He put you here to do amazing things. I can't remember the exact Bible verse. I think it's like Deuteronomy 8:10, something like that. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. Y'all can put the right one down in the comments. But essentially what it's saying is that you was created with the power to attain wealth and success. That's what you were here for. That you were given these things inherently. So look inward, take that power, and go out into the world and do something. Now, Rob, I'm gonna give you a chance to put your 2 cents on it too, because I know you itching over there. I see it in your face. But also, I know there's some things you working on financially to help people get to that place. So somewhere in there, in that lesson, I want you to tell them some things about that as well.
Yeah, for sure. Let me touch on something really quick and then we'll roll right into it. One of the things that we talk about in conventional thinking is the ability to always get it right. Looking at all of the mentors, especially all of my millionaire mentors, I have a really cool network around me and a lot of very smart people, but also have some people who give me very good wisdom. That wisdom doesn't come from, I can tell you when I have conversations with my mentors, it is never about what I've done right. They tell me 90% of the information I get is every step that I made wrong, so you don't have to make that same wrong step. And that is unconventional thinking, because that comes from failing many times. That comes from a lot of hard times. And that is the most useful information that I get out of any mentor that I have. So I say that to say, if the most successful people are the ones who have made millions of mistakes, that is the proof in the pudding of how conventional thinking stop your blood blessings a little bit. Again, there is a place for it, but 95% of the time, you're going to want to be a little bit agile in your thinking, right?
Be a misfit a little bit.
Products. Yeah. Products. I wouldn't necessarily say, I do have a shitload of products, let me be honest. But one of the most conventional things that, unconventional things that is a part of my program is, so if you ever read a book, Simon Sinek, Start With Why, that's the same way it works in my program. And at any point in time when you ever sit down in a meeting with me, we are going to unpack and go down the rabbit hole of why you want to do whatever it is you want to do. You want to get a better budget. You want to leave money for your kids. You want your kids to have insurance plans, whatever that is. We're going to get to the ass bottom of the why. The reason for that is because when we the first things that we start to unpack is all of the conventional shit. Because my mom said that was supposed to happen to me. Because my uncles and 3 sisters have it, I should have it. And American society was built that way. And we layer back, and sometimes it gets to the point where your why needs to be bigger than anything else. So my ultimate why, and I've said this a million different ways, but essentially it's to be Christ-like, right? To give back to the people and be able to be in a position to give back wholeheartedly. And so when I do that, I never really fail because I'm always giving back. But the hard part about my why is I never can accomplish it. There's no way I could be as good as Christ was. And it's a goal that I'm willing to chase because I know I'm gonna be able to chase it forever. So when you can peel back that onion and be able to chase something forever, that's when you realize you found your purpose.
Nice. Guys, hey, I definitely appreciate you all jumping on and rocking with us. I sincerely hope that this was something that it really sits in your mind. And as you watch more of our episodes and get more nuggets, hey, I'm looking for you guys to just take what we're giving you guys and, man, rocket ship, go to the moon and beyond with this information. So this has been Money Mike and Rob, Coach Rob with the 7 Cents. We'll catch you guys on the next one. Make sure y'all follow and share, and we'll catch you guys next time.
See you on the other side. We out. You just tapped into the 7 Cents, where the mind meets the money and the legacy gets built.
It's your boy Money Mike, the financial Thanos, snapping one myth at a time and leaving no financial lies standing.
And I'm Coach R.L. Mind right, money right, legacy locked in. If today's episode gave you game, make sure you rate, review, and share it with someone.
Hey, follow us on all platforms and keep the conversation going, guys. DM us your questions, your myths, and your money wins.
Until next time, think deeper, move smarter, and keep building.
This is the 7 Cents Podcast. We out.